Welcome to Newslaundry Chota Hafta. For the full episode, subscribe because it is behind the paywall and only subscribers get access to uncut, complete content. Newslaundry Hafta is our weekly wrap of all that made the news, all that didn't, and all that should have and all that shouldn't have. We agree, we disagree, we critique, and occasionally we beat each other up. But it's all good fun. Subscribe.
This is a Newslaundry podcast and you're listening to NL Hafta.
अंग्रेज अपना लगान और न्यूज़ लॉन्ड्री अपना हफ्ता कभी नहीं छोड़ते. We're back with another episode of Hafta from the studio on a day where the cases in Delhi of COVID are at 320 odd, which is pretty high compared to the last few weeks, but pretty low compared to the 9,000 that we were at one point of time. Our audio quality may sound a little better because we have a soundproof studio now. So let's see if we have to...
Really? I didn't notice this.
You don't have to wait for the...
Apparently not, but let's see as we
Well,
record it.
I had to for the shoot.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay, then maybe we'll see. So joining us today on the panel is Mehraj D Lone.
Hello.
Manisha Pande.
Hello.
Raman Kirpal.
Hi.
And on the phone line, Jayashree. Hi, Jayashree.
Did people crack a lone wolf joke with you ever in school? Or it's a very common surname in Kashmir, so no one did?
It's a common surname and people, when I was studying, didn't know what lone wolf was.
Yeah, I know it's like...
Listen, when I was in school, I got so many questions on whether I'm from Arunachal Pradesh, which I just find astounding.
Because, tell the audience, because they only know you as Jayashree. Because your surname is...
Sorry, audience, my name is Jayashree Arunachalam, but no, people who are called Arunachalam are not from Arunachal Pradesh.
But you also grew up in Tamil Nadu, no? So this is...
Yeah, but this was mostly from non-Tamil students.
you
So
from
like in
Arun-
school and college and stuff.
It's very...
Enough people that it went into the double digits.
Sorry, it was just a very random transgression.
Yes.
And we anyway don't pronounce it as lone. It's lone.
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 Okay, that's slight nuance, right.
Lone
So now
man
that you know all our names, mine is Abhinandan Sekhri. And the maximum teasing I got was, Sekhri, where's your bakery? But that was about it.
I was called Pandu Havaldar. And unfortunately, I was always posted in areas where Pandey was not a common surname. So I was really
You're
made...
sounding like a Pandu Havaldar.
My father was posted in areas where there was no Pandey ever. So I was always like the butt of, Pandu Halvadar, Panda, pata nahi kya.
I see.
Traumatic.
So now that you have all our histories out of the way.
Except Raman sirs.
Yeah, anything you want to share sir,
Kirpal.
about your name, Raman Kirpal?
Kirpal. No, I think they used to call me Ravan. Raman.
Why?
Raman.
Raman ka Ravan. Acha, M ko V kar diya.
Ravan भी कर दिया. Kirpal, they used to, doubt. They used to ask me if I'm a Hindu or Sikh.
I see.
Acha.
And you used to say, bolo, tararara. Okay. Again, I'm being what type? Stereotype.
School kids are so random though.
We have had a fairly interesting news week. Nothing dominated like he usually does. Manisha will get you the headlines, but before she does that, I just want to tell everybody, those of you who listen to this for free on YouTube, as Chota Hafta or even at any podcast player as Chota Hafta, subscribe to get the full unedited Hafta, which is a podcast which I'm sure you'll enjoy. You'll agree, you'll disagree, but you will find it interesting for sure and hopefully learn something new each time. And if you are a subscriber, you can gift one episode to a non-subscriber, and we need your help to spread the word. So Hafta is a good way to get people introduced to Newslaundry. So you can do it by clicking on the gift story on the Hafta on our website. You go to the story and you say gift story, and it will generate a unique link that you can share with your friend, who will then get the unedited Hafta. On that note, Manisha, what are the headlines?
Sensational happenings in my home state of Uttarakhand. The Chief Minister Suvendru Adhikari resigned on Tuesday, a day after he met the Bharatiya Janata Party central leadership in Delhi. We have a new Chief Minister, Tirath Singh Rawat, who was sworn in.
Are they related?
No, they're not Rawat, but they're both Rajputs, which is essential apparently for an Uttarakhand Chief Minister from BJP. Over 10,000 companies in India shut voluntarily amid pandemic. The centre told that to the parliament.
To be clear, that means people who had set up private limited companies to do some business enterprise, they have called it quits and bound up.
But did the government use the word voluntarily? Because that is anything but voluntarily.
No,
I think the story is still not unclear. In this, I feel that if you remember that in 2014 they started a scheme of startups that they will pay a loan of 80,000 to 5 lakhs.
Yes, incentive.
And I also told that how the people like Ramdev, they have hijacked. They are getting people
To make startups.
to make startups and take those. I don't know whether these startups have.
That would be an interesting
closed
story
down.
to
Very interesting
to
story.
explore. You were saying, Jayashree, something?
Oh, I was saying that I think the government had said that it doesn't actually know how many companies shut down. So this is just the number of companies that was struck off from the Company
The
Act.
ROC, right.
Or underneath the Company Act. So there would be some particular terms and conditions under which they stand dissolved or whatever.
I see.
The Wire's parent trust, along with MK Venu and Dhanya Rajendran of the News Minute, have moved the Delhi High Court against the information technology rules to regulate digital media. Meanwhile, in Kerala, the legal website Live Law has also moved a notice against these laws. And the Delhi High Court has issued a notice to the centre on this petition.
And the Kerala High Court gave a pretty favourable ruling. They said that, of course, they approached it, we'll discuss this in some detail, but Live Law had a very interesting argument to make. So, yeah.
Trinamool Congress MP Mahua Mitra has been served a notice on a privilege motion moved against her. This is pertaining to her remarks on former Chief Justice of India Ranjan Gogoi and allegations of sexual harassment against him. The Editors Guild of India expressed shock at the casual manner in which editors of Kashmir-based publications are detained for the reporting or editorials. This is following a statement by our very own Digipub.
Yeah, so just a few hours after Digipub. In fact, Digipub issued the statement at night, and next morning, Editors Guild had also done it, which hadn't done it before, so I'm glad.
The Mumbai police have told the Bombay High Court that Republic TV was trying to play victim and get the television rating points scam transferred to the Central Bureau of Investigation. Voters in Switzerland on Sunday narrowly backed a proposal to ban full face coverings like burqa and niqab in public spaces, except sites of worship.
Switzerland has also voted against minarets at one point, right? 3 years ago, 4 years ago, or longer. That basically the mosque minarets they had voted against, right?
Yeah,
They
you
shouldn't
can't
come
build
anywhere.
new ones, yeah.
That like a blanket or...
Yeah, blanket.
Yeah, it's a blanket ban.
In Switzerland, if 50,000 people sign a petition, you can amend the constitution of Switzerland.
They have a form of a direct democracy. But I suppose it'll only work in Switzerland, nowhere else.
Because of the population.
Also, I mean, the sort
Homogeneity
of
of it
society.
also.
they-
Yeah, exactly.
Chief Justice of India S.A. Bobde said that the Supreme Court as an institution has the highest respect for womanhood and that the comments made by him last week during the bail hearing in a rape case were completely misreported.
So, I mean, to give the unpopular opinion here, I read the article which accompanied this. Now, of course, the normal thing is that now that he's been shown up for being what he is, he's making excuses, misreported. How can you misreport? But then I read at least what that article said. I think that was in the Express. It wasn't that unreasonable what he was saying. He was saying, I wasn't asking him to marry her. It wasn't basically when he... So in response to what that guy was saying, that, that no, I want to marry her and this is... In that conversation, he says, why, you still want to marry her? So apparently that's how it happened. It wasn't
Really?
that...
But that was completely didn't come out in the reports that we read.
In the next report that I read, that's how it appeared. And that completely changes... You get it?
I think that was his clarification. Well,
Yeah,
No, I think what he said is we are not forcing you to marry. Let us know if you will. Otherwise, you'll say we are forcing you to marry. I think that was exactly what he said, which is...
Yeah, but so he said that in response to when that guy said, I wanted to marry her, etc. He said, you still want to marry her? And that guy said, yes. So he says, but
Why is checking it?
Even so, that's, I mean...
Why is checking it?
That's
He
also
should
true.
not
But
have.
yeah, no, I agree. But it's very different from him kind of seriously approaching that on his own, saying that, will you marry her? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But such words coming out of CGI's mouth.
In a rape case
matters
is
a lot.
like...
Yeah, exactly. It's a rape case. That's
But one would have to really be there to see exactly what happened. But yeah, the fact that he said otherwise you'll accuse us of forcing you means that, directly it's Supreme Court's
So
suggestion.
if you do it on your
Yeah.
own, so it's fine.
So it's anyway, even I couldn't really figure this out.
And I think NDTV had also quoted him as saying, if you want to marry, we can help you or something like that.
Is
They
there
couldn't
any-
have all got it wrong
Is
or
this-
taken it out of context.
Is the exact transcription of this available anywhere? Or this
It's
is
this
not...
is what has been quoted.
That's it. That is all. There is nothing more than that.
No, because these were oral observations.
Right.
This is not part of a
so
judgment.
unless until you're
as such.
there once.
So you have
there's
to be
no
present
way.
in the
So you
court.
have to be okay. So there's no way you can get the exact verbatim transcription.
No,
of
but
this.
when these like Live Law and others report that, they are like there. They watch it live and report. I mean, they can get it wrong sometimes. Everybody can. But usually
these
they're
guys,
very careful.
On the sly, all these legal correspondence, I know it for a fact.
are recording.
They record. They record also, so that is why they so confidently they write it. But if you say that we have recorded, it will become contempt of court.
Right.
Also, we are missing the larger point here. He is the Chief Justice of like 1.3 billion people. Every single word that comes out of her mouth
Is
has to
very-
be like very
That's
weighed.
actually true. You know, it's so casually, even if it's a casual remark, it should not be because you're the Chief Justice of the country.
West Bengal Chief Minister Mamta Banerjee has sustained severe bone injuries on her left ankle and foot after she was attacked. After she says that she was attacked in the state's Nandigram district, she's blamed BJP. She said that these goons who pushed me in the car. And this happened after she filed her nomination from Nandigram. Incidentally, former TMC leader Suvendru Adhikari is also going to be fighting from Nandigram on the BJP seat this time.
And basically, she's accepted the challenge that she was fighting from two places, right? Her regular home constituency and Nandigram. She said only from Nandigram. That's the kind of confidence that she's displaying.
And today, media is full of her images on a stretcher on the hospital bed with a cast on her leg.
And
So the
ANI
doctors have also certified that she got a.
Yeah, and there's one eyewitness who ANI always finds these eyewitnesses, which are always convenient. I'm not saying that that's what he's saying is not true, but ANI may not report the original thing, but they'll definitely report the response by an eyewitness. They did not.
What does the eyewitness say?
So the original ANI had no report on that. Mamta Banerjee says that her leg has been injured by BJP workers, but they had the eyewitness's clarification to a report that they never carried, where he's saying that she was hurt, but basically her security or someone slammed the door on her leg. It was no other person who pushed her car or anything. Of course, now
I think
whether you want to trust Mamta or the ANI's eyewitness.
ANI, you cannot. ANI, the last week, I mean, somehow, I don't know why it is happening. I was with Patriot. So these people had come to, give me a demo that they have started the PTI service kind, print service. So they gave me as a demo. So that demo is still coming. In a day, if I get 6 stories, the correction, next 6 mails come to correct, either withdraw the story or correct 4 stories. So last week, I can tell you there was a story by ANI about this, some ex-serviceman who is so poor now, he's not able to, his family is in trouble. So they put out this story. After 3 hours, they said, we are withdrawing the story, so please remove from your websites. This happened just...
So those of you wondering, ANI is a news agency. Full form is Asia News International, which is the news agency of choice for many people who don't want to report, so they just keep paying what ANI gives them. We are not one of those. Our reporters go on ground, as they will be going when the Tamil Nadu, Puducherry, Kerala, Bengal and Assam elections happen. Those of you who've been following News Laundry's work for a while would remember Ayan, a wonderful reporter who was from Assam but then came to Delhi. Then he went back to Assam. He will be covering Assam for us. Our very own Manisha Pande and Meghnad are going to be in Bengal.
And Parikshit, 3 of us will be
in Bengal. So
para-dropping in
along
West
with
Bengal.
2 stringers.
Yeah, we'll also have 2
we'll
reporters
have 2
from
local
there.
reporters there as well, because Manisha's Bengali is as good as my French. And in the Tamil Nadu, Jayashree is actually identifying someone for us, but also our very own Nidhi Suresh is going to be there, as is Aditya. So
In Kerala.
in Kerala. So we're going to have people all over the country, and this whole exercise is going to cost, I think, someone 21.5 lakh rupees. So the NL Sena is up. So if you want us to just copy paste ANI, we can do it a lot cheaper. But if you want us to report on the ground like only our reporters can, do contribute to that NL Sena
Please
project.
do. We really need it. And we promise to make it worth your while. Continuing with headlines, an investigation by India's Confluence Media, Sweden's SVT and Germany's ZF has revealed that the Swedish truck and bus maker Scania paid bribes to win bus contracts in 7 Indian states between 2013 and 16. There have been allegations against Union Minister Nitin Gadkari's son, although the minister's office has,
Denied.
called these malicious and fabricated. Arvind Kejriwal has announced free Ayodhya Ram Temple visit for Delhi's elderly. How beautiful. The Election Commission of India ordered the removal of West Bengal's Director General of Police, Virendra, following an adverse report from its special observers posted in the poll-bound state.
And Mamta is not happy at all.
Maharashtra Home Minister Anil Deshmukh announced on Wednesday that Sachin Vaze has been removed from his position as Assistant Police Inspector of Mumbai's crime branch.
In case you're wondering who this Mr. Vaze is, he's the guy who apparently had some unexplained role to play in the investigation, which is basically that investigation involves the Scorpio that was found laden with explosive outside the Ambani residence, which said ye to trailer hai bhi dhamak or whatever it is. And the owner of that vehicle was found dead a few days later, apparently of suicide. The wife said it's not suicide, and she has blamed a journalist and 2 cops. And when this Mr. Vaze was walking, some reporters are saying that apparently you had that Scorpio for 4 or 5 months. That's the allegation against you. So he says, allegation kya hai? So they said, but he says, so what if I did? That doesn't mean anything. And I was like, you know what? If there was a vehicle that was, you're talking about Disha Ravi tweaked one bloody document and she's enrolled in sedition. You bloody had the vehicle and now you're saying I didn't, but on camera you just
And
said
a
that's
vehicle
not
that was
allegation.
reported missing.
A vehicle
by the
that
owner.
like you had for 4-5 months. So what's the big deal? I mean, I really...
This is such a
and when
strange case,
And when I
though.
see these op-eds now by cops saying that, oh, cops are, mistreated. I'm like, guys, have you seen every day the conduct of cops is the worse than bloody netas. I think you have to have immense chutzpah to write op-eds as a cop.
Yeah, and it wasn't just his wife who said that cops were involved. He left behind he sent a letter to the chief minister a couple of days before, where he said that he was being harassed by the media. He said he was being hounded by the cops and treated like an accused. And he named specifically 3 or 4 police officers in his letter, one of whom was Vaze.
No, the wife subsequently, she had
And
a press
she's-
conference. Wife in that press conference, she had categorically said that the Vaze had taken that car. This car was with him for 4-5 months.
Very weird.
And
yeah.
by the
all
way,
in all, very weird.
this is the same guy who arrested Arnab Goswami.
Interesting.
He's known as Shiv Sena man.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a story up. So he has a custodial murder case against him
Yes.
from 2003, and then he was like suspended, and he was asking to be reinstated. He wasn't, so he resigned and joined Shiv Sena. After Shiv Sena came back to power, they reinstated him and 4 others, and all the major cases. I mean, in our headline we say he's Mumbai's star cop, or was until the other day. So all the major cases, TRP scam, Arnab, this and that, they have all gone to him.
This should be major news, yeah.
And he isn't that high ranking
Why is it
also.
not?
Yeah, he's just an assistant police
assistant,
inspector. So.
That's pretty low.
Simlipal forest fire raged on for 10 days in Odisha. It's been contained, says the CM, and there's been no damage to big trees. PC Chako has quit Congress ahead of Kerala polls. He blamed factionalism and lack of leadership within the party.
And said any self-respecting person cannot remain in the Congress.
The certificates issued against COVID-19 vaccination in the poll-bound states of West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Assam, Kerala and Puducherry will no longer have Prime Minister Narendra Modi's photo. This was after the intervention of the Election Commission. People had tweeted out their certificate with Modi ji's smiling face.
He's not smiling and very serious.
Really?
Because COVID is a
He
serious
looks
matter.
smiling.
But
to
now
me.
even Abhi also displays Prime Minister.
I have Modi's photograph behind my desk now.
What?
And the interview of the century, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's interview with Oprah Winfrey broke all records and made some serious allegations on racism against the royal family.
Well, not the family. They have clarified that the specific quote about the racism was the Buckingham Palace staff and not the family, but other trauma was family. So
They've made that clarity?
Yeah, they made that
Oh.
clarification.
So-
That thing about the color of the child, that did not come from the family, but it came from someone within the staff.
I thought
Listen-
Oprah clarified
listen-
that the thing about the color didn't come from the grandmother or the grandfather, that is Elizabeth or
Correct. It
Philip.
didn't come from this, but it
But
could
it
have
could have come
been
from any of the other royals. She
That's
didn't say
true.
it didn't come from.
So just the Queen and Prince Philip didn't say it, but anyone else could have.
Prince Philip
Could-
has been racist enough for his entire life. I think now he's just taking a break.
Kate Middleton could have said it, or the brother could have said it. Or
So before we move on and discuss some specifics in some detail, I would just like to remind our listeners that when the public pays, the public is served. When advertisers pay, advertisers are served. If you have been watching these conclaves by the India Today group that have, and on their channel, they've been half-hour shows, which are impact features, which is basically half an ad on Yogi Adityanath and all. So that is how broadcast and print make their money. So that is why we here believe that if news depends on advertisers, it can never serve the public. So do pay to keep news free. Go to newslaundry.com, click on the subscribe button, and you can pay. And we have, I think, made almost 60 to 65% of our NL Sena target for the app. So our app is already under construction. I have no doubt you guys will top it up. It's going to cost us about 15-16 lakhs. So do contribute. Go to newslaundry.com, see all the good stuff we do, and contribute. Yeah, thank you so much. Do you trust Mamta Banerjee got pushed by some BJP workers? Do you believe ANI is eyewitness? Do you think she just was very clumsy and slammed the door onto her own?
herself.
No, just go by. She inflicted injuries on herself.
No, not on purpose. I'm just saying she was clumsy. She wasn't avoiding a
No,
exam in class
let's
8.
go by the doctor's versions. Doctors have confirmed that she did get injuries on her leg. And so doctors have certified it. So I'm sure it
Yeah,
must
and
have
I don't
happened. But whether it happened in a stampede kind of situation or the BJP guys came, the those 3/4 that we don't know.
But I just want to remind everybody that we made a lot of fun of Vivek Agnihotri when he said my shoulder got injured when he drove into JNU because someone slammed his car. Remember? He said my shoulder, this happened, that happened. Basically, when he'd gone to JNU to show that film of his, nothing happened, and then he was claiming. Of course, people smashed his car in the sense that they were thumping his car and all that. But I mean, he didn't dislocate his shoulder or anything. Like, I have, when I was young, dislocated my shoulder and also bust my collarbone. You can't go around waving and hanging out. I mean, it is very painful. He claims that it became okay in a few hours. So, of course, we all laughed at Vivek, just saying. So, we should deal with Mamta with the same scrutiny.
In any case, this is like the time of the camera phone, so we'll have videos soon.
That's
But
true.
look, I think that, one doesn't know these things. She's clearly also trying to hark back to the 90s when she was actually attacked by the left. Very brutally, attacked by the left, injured, gheraud, and she fought all of that. And it's also true that a lot of the left cadre has switched to the BJP. So in terms of political violence and what's going to happen there, I'm really not certain. Maybe it was one of the left cadres who decided to, because it has happened to her before. Or maybe she's just trying to hark back to those times, how she fought on the road, against the challenge, whatever, the incumbent of the time, and how she's again being attacked like that. So
Not just in the 90s, in like 2011
Nandigram
also. Nandi,
when the
same
Bhumi
place.
Pratirod Andolan happened, that also.
But what I think is amazing about her and what makes her a survivor is she is willing to bet big, just like Arvind. She did not hedge. Like Sonia, would contest
Or
on
like
Bellary
Rahul.
and Amethi. Yeah, Rahul would
Rahul
contest.
also.
She said, okay, you're challenging me that I'm hedging. Fuck it, I won't hedge. Come, Nandigram, I'll come and fight you there. If she loses, that's a big loss. But if she doesn't, that shows a confidence. Just like Arvind said, fine, I'll contest. I mean, he could have won from Sundarnagari the first election he ran. But he said, no, I'll contest against Sheila Dikshit. Because if you win that...
Also in Mamta's case, the symbolism of Nandigram is huge.
Exactly.
Because that's where she sort of came to power.
And this guy, what's his name? Suvendru.
Adhikari.
That's his seat.
Yeah. And who used to be her left hand, basically.
So this has been challenged in court. Delhi High Court has been challenged by Dhanya Rajendran and M.K. Venu and the Section 25 company that runs the wire. In the Kerala High Court, it has been challenged by Live Law. Now, Live Law gave a very interesting argument in court. They told the Honorable Kerala High Court that we run a news portal which covers law and legal news. So if we have a piece that's written by a retired judge, and someone has a grievance against it and they say, hello, we don't like this, we are offended, this is this, that is the other, then we have to pull it down. Which means that some troll somewhere on a complaint of his, and if this Sarkari committee decides or any other external committee decides, you have to pull down the article of a judge. So now they have really framed the argument so well that the judge is vanishing. Oh, ye to sala Twitter troll meri judgment ko niche kar dega. So now the judge did give an order that no coercive action can be taken against Live Law if they don't, comply by the rules, which means that they don't set up a grievance officer, they don't set up that whatever committee to look into these grievances, and which also kind of suggests that the government's own committee cannot start ruling on them. But the court has added that since they run a law and legal site, but I guess others can say that, well, we run a political site and political analyst is as seriously taken as, more than a troll. The Delhi High Court has sent a notice to the centre asking for their response. The next hearing will be in a month. But I believe more and more people are going to challenge this ridiculous order in court. And the approach the Dhanya Rajendran, M.K. Venu and the YA have taken, basically the way this is worded, these rules, are pretty similar to 66A. 66A was struck down as unconstitutional. You guys can check out, you go to newslaundry.com, we ran a whole campaign called Internet Inqilab against 66A. They said they've basically got the same things.
Through the back door, yeah.
Through the back door, through the IT Act. So once the Supreme Court has already struck down such ridiculous rules, you cannot bring them as rules. So that is where we are. And today the Honorable Minister Prakash Javadekar has said that he has met the members representing digital media, which are members from the Times of India, Indian Express, NDTV, India Today, Jagran Group, none of whom are digital media. And he has refused to right now respond to what DigiPub, which is the organization that the News Minute, Scroll, us. Now we are about 40 of us. So we have more members representing digital than any other organization in the country. That's DigiPub. However, we have not been invited to meet. And right now, it is Thursday, the 11th of March, 4 o'clock. So let's see if by tomorrow we also get an invitation to meet so that we can also be consulted about these rules. I believe that more and more people are going to challenge this in court. And I guess they'll all be clubbed and go to the Supreme Court.
This is exactly one of the points Live Law made is also, one is that apart from what you were saying is that this will pretty much shut down all small platforms. So if you have to have this committee, grievance redress officer, you have to deal with all these complaints. For a small organization with 10, 12 people, that means they'll have to put aside resources for this. So it won't be feasible. Another thing is, what they said is, like when we were starting out, we talked about CGI's remarks about rape. So it was Live Law who first reported that, right? So after that, they said they got a lot of complaints saying that you can't say this, it's wrong, it's blah, 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 blah. So imagine if the rules were existing then.
Yes, already, yeah.
So they'll still be dealing with those things. Yeah. Similarly, when that Madhya Pradesh High Court judge said those things about Munawar Farooqi, that people like this should go to jail, they reported that, and again, there was a barrage of complaints. So how do you deal with all those? And you are required to respond to a complaint within 15 days.
This is how censorship will creep up. An organization that has very few people would think, yeah, instead of like going through the headache of a grievance coming or whatever, let's just not write this, or let's just not do this.
Or not just that, they won't even push back. Suppose someone gives it, I don't have to pull it down. I can say, I'm afraid what you say does not, in our view, violate any rights. It doesn't. So therefore, we won't pull it down. And that person can then take it up to the next level.
And that is the problem.
But that again is, I think, such a waste of resources, right? Because lots of smaller organizations don't have the bandwidth to deal with that.
Yeah.
So they're throttling you from the start. And also one thing I think is that people who don't work for news organizations, particularly digital news organizations, their takeaway from this entire thing is that the digital media has no form of control. Because that's what the government has been saying again and again. The government has been saying that digital news outfits need to be responsible. The implication being that they are irresponsible right now.
Exactly.
So when we're talking about what social media is saying and so on, what a lot of people are assuming is that the digital media does require this level of control, when actually this level of control is suppression of dissent and stuff.
Hijack Mane, I mean, he doesn't have the infra at the national level, but he wants to sound like a national leader, by hijacking. In that sense, he's hijacking.
Pandering to the majority.
But he can say this also in his speech कि हमने बुजुर्गों को भेजा राम मंदिर, तुमने हज भेजा हमने, because haj subsidies देता ना center.
Which is like the greatest scam there ever is. I mean, if you go without that subsidy, it comes to cheaper. Seriously, it all goes to Air India. That's like a way of subsidizing Air India. So anyway, but Congress also tried doing this. I mean, it didn't work out very well.
No. Congress was always ambivalent. Congress was always two-minded. Whenever they announced something like this, they always sounded like two-minded. But this person, as she said, that 69,000 crore ka budget, so he is going in a very systematic way. So he has that Desh Bhakti ka curriculum, he has this, and I think on like some, he also...
And some of the welfare schemes
in East.
And he dovetails this with welfare schemes like the Bijli. Like for the Bijli bill is one of the things, the two things that any regular person you talk to in Delhi has directly seen is your Bijli and your schools and hospital.
That has affected their life.
So
even water bills.
Even those are the things.
Water bills have not actually impacted, right?
No.
Bijli has impacted people like me, because since I'm here and there's nobody in the house, so all the bijlis are off. So in winter, I don't even use up that 400 units. So the subsidy that you get maybe 200, 300 rupee bills, yeah. Of course, in the summer it goes up to 15, 20,000 because you've bypassed. But what I'm saying is, can you imagine the impact it has on the poor people? They get like 2 rupee, 3 rupee bills.
But that's the thing, those are the kind of things that directly affect your life, and people talk about it also. And that is what sets you apart from the rest of the crowd. But if they're giving that up, or at least not using that as messaging and going with something that BJP is already dominates, I don't think how that's going to work out very well.
And while you're at it, if you're not a subscriber, go to newslaundry.com and subscribe and pay to keep news free. All you Mufat Khors who are listening to this on Chota Hafta, if you're a student, that's fine. You can. We've already given student subscriptions to about 800 students. Thank you for those of you who do sponsor student subscriptions. Enroll for our student subscription program. If you're out of a job, that's fine. Try to hack our stuff and get stuff for free. But if you're working, if you are employed, or if you have inherited a lot of money from your folks, like many of you have, don't just be an unproductive
accusation on our listeners.
Manisha has got a house in Dehradun, right?
So she has a house everywhere. She's landed gentry.
Landed gentry.
आप और मैं ही हैं जो बिना एसेट्स के घूमते रहते हैं यहाँ. हाँ सर, हमारे एसेट तो हमारे शरीर पे हम फकीर आदमी हैं, पोटली बांध के निकल लेंगे कहीं भी अपने न्यूज़ लॉन्ड्री के शेयर्स के साथ. So do subscribe and pay to keep news free, because when the public pays, the public is served. When advertisers pay, advertisers served. But Bharat, I would not list whether we've done anything. I think if someone says that I will consume their media, if they've done a pro Modi story, then say don't consume the media. I don't think that is not something that should be used to say, see, no, they are not biased. Everyone's biased. Do send them that bit that I have written, our position on Newslaundry. It addresses what bias is and who's biased and who's not biased. But have we done a positive Modi story has nothing to do with the accuracy or robustness of our reporting. So that for me is irrelevant whether we have, whether we haven't.
No, but also I understand where this is coming from. This has been encouraged by all these like big celebrated editors. Every time they go on TV or in their like columns, they have been saying this. I have heard this like countless times. Oh, it's your responsibility as a media organization, as a newspaper, as a TV channel. If you're showing like this scheme doesn't work, you report on this. But you should also spread word about like good schemes and stuff. That is absolutely nonsense. That's not the job of a media organization. What you should be asking is, there's this government which has like a 100,000 crore budget to spread its word. Where the hell is that money going? If it's still reliant on your organization to spread that word.
But I don't think he wants us to spread the word. I think
no,
what
I'm
he
saying
wants
that,
is an understanding.
like
but I do agree that it's something that a big media organization can we probably don't have the resources.
No, I understand.
But I would really like to know, for
if
example,
it's something like
what's
say,
working on the ground.
If there is a pandemic and you have to tell people, okay, these are the guidelines, follow these, this is good. It's absolutely not the responsibility of a media organization to say that Modi government has launched a scheme and this is how you'll benefit. Absolutely not. What you should be asking
and
is...
also,
That's
I
not
think you can't
also the
evaluate
suggestion.
a story on the basis of whether it shows Modi in a good light or not. You report a story based on the story itself. I mean, checking whether it shows you the other side of a man's character or whether of his achievements and so on is not the way that...
Let's face it, what is working in West Bengal? Are his schemes working? No, Jayashree Ram is working.
These schemes usually...
Jayashree Ram is working, so the communal divide is working. So let us,
But Bengal, we have to judge from the incumbents' schemes. No, we'll have to judge more from what Mamta has done for the past 10 years.
that is fine. But what is going to work for the BJP? What has BJP done?
The BJP, what it's done is it got the Ram temple. So that is, for them is a big achievement. But it ignores all the other stuff that goes along with it.
Yes.
So
All of you listening in, the Chota Hafta, do subscribe so you can listen to the entire Hafta. We will see you again next week with the Hafta. Till then, subscribe, pay to keep news free, because when the public pays, the public is served. When advertisers pay, advertisers are served. Thank you. Goodbye.
All the Newslaundry podcasts are available on Stitcher, iTunes, and any other podcast platform.
Please subscribe to Newslaundry. Help us keep news independent. To catch all our podcasts on news, pop culture, current affairs and sport, visit newslaundry.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Sun liya Afrika, mufat khoro. Not to brag or anything, but Newslaundry Hafta features in the top 50 in the world on SoundCloud in the news and politics category for podcasts. So do subscribe and see what you're missing, because when the public pays, the public is served. When advertisers pay, advertisers are served. Subscribe, help keep news independent and free. All Newslaundry podcasts are available on iTunes and Stitcher and any other podcast platform.